Hello. Welcome on back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. Here the sky is blue, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and I just experienced third-degree burn in my eyes. Yeah, that happened. So I don't usually wear contacts, but I thought today I'd be a little spontaneous, get a little dolled up for you guys, and I kind of regret that now. Apparently with the solution that I used, you have to have your contacts sit in it for at least 6 hours to neutralize, but your boy over here doesn't read the fine print. I mean, who does that? Well, I learned my lesson because I felt like I was putting in full-blown arsenic into my eyes. I went to drop in a little bit of that eye contact solution, and I was like, holy sh*. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, I hope you're having a lovely day. If you guys want to learn how I created this look right here, then keep on watching.
Alrighty, so I'm going to start with using this Rose Deep Hydration Toner from Fresh Beauty on our model ST, and I'm applying this with a makeup wedge. This toner is sheer enough to hydrate the skin, but not so thick that it will break down the foundation I put on top of it. I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way foundation in the shade Nude, and I'm applying this with a damp beauty blender. It's important to bring this up onto the ears and down the neck to make sure everything is one tone. Especially with fair skin tones, there can be a bit of redness on the ears that you'll want to cover to match the rest of your face. And if you plan on wearing your hair up or in a ponytail, I'd even bring a little bit of this foundation behind the ears and onto the back of the neck if needed. Since I'm trying to share with y'all how to achieve a beautiful but wearable makeup application, especially for over the age of 40, I'm going to be keeping all of the product layers very thin, which is why I opted earlier for a thinner hydrating toner rather than a thick cream. Today's makeup look isn't about caking on layers of makeup like I usually would, but rather about achieving just wearable everyday makeup that looks flattering on just about anybody and everybody. Because I'm not going in with a heavy contour, I'm going to use something a little softer like the Soleil Tan de Chanel. With a dense brush, I begin working this product into the cheekbone area by placing it and then buffing it outwards. This Chanel bronzer is more of a cream to powder formula, if that makes sense, so you're not going to want to go in heavy with this. A little goes a long way, which is great because obviously as our skin matures, the more prone makeup is to settling into those fine lines, which is what we want to avoid. Now our model already has incredible skin. Let me just tell you how this whole video started. For the last couple of years, ST has been following my work on Instagram. She's DM'd me a couple times wanting to do a makeover. She's so sweet. She shared with me a little of her story. She's the mother of some amazing kids, and she just wanted to have a little fun and sit in my makeup chair. Fast forward to today. When she walked in, I was stunned. Now, my mama taught me better than to talk about a woman's age, but I did get full permission from our model for the context of this video. You guys, she is 44 years old. When I met her, I was like, girl, I don't know who put what in the punch bowl you've been drinking out of, but whatever it is, I'll take a double. This woman looks 2 minutes old. I don't understand it, but she's definitely motivated me to up my skincare game. Okay, now that I have that bronzer blended out the way I like, I'm gonna move on to concealing. For concealer, I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in shade Vanilla, and with a flat brush, I'm placing this directly underneath the eyes, the center of the forehead, down the center of the nose, cupid's bow, and chin. Of course, you can use less or more depending on your preference, along with where you place it, but this is pretty standard for my kind of application. I'm not trying to do anything crazy transformative with makeup, I just want to enhance the natural beauty of our model's features. As you see here, I'm going back in with my beauty blender to softly diffuse out that concealer. Especially when we start to age, gravity plays its evil trick on us and facial features don't appear as lifted as they once were. So if you can relate with that, try blending the under eye concealer upwards and outwards, and that'll definitely contribute to a more lifted cheekbone appearance. I do place a small bit of that concealer on the eyelid to act as a primer, which will help cover any red or blue undertones you may have as well. And then I move on to blending out the chin, nose, and forehead. Because I want the inner corner under eye to look super awake and bright, I'm using the Makeup Forever HD concealer in the shade Y21 to give us that pop of light. With this concealer, I'm only applying the smallest amount of it, so I apply it on the back of my hand, buff it out with a beauty blender, and then I use whatever I have left on that beauty blender to apply where I want that brightness. And you can really see the difference that made. Now that I have that blended, I'm going to set it with the Makeup Forever HD Translucent Powder. With an eyeshadow brush, I'm softly tapping in this product on top of the concealer, and I'm not using a lot of powder, just enough to set the concealer and prevent it from creasing. It's a love-hate relationship with powder sometimes. If you don't use enough, the concealer creases throughout the day. If you use too much, fine lines and wrinkles just look more pronounced. So start with a little and work your way on up if need be. With this CoverGirl lipstick in the shade Temptress Rose, I'm applying such a small amount to the back of my hand and then evenly coating my blush brush with it, as you see here. Then I buff in the pigment into the cheeks, and that's how we get a beautiful cream blush with a lipstick. I love using lipsticks as blush. It can look so natural, and in my opinion, cream pigments last way longer than powder blushes. And then with the powder puff, I'm pressing in our Makeup Forever translucent powder into the areas of the skin that need to be set. Just like the concealer, you can tailor the amount of powder you use based on your skin type. That might be a fun video to do too, different makeup applications for different skin types. Let me know down below if that's something you'd want me to film. So here you see me real quick with my ring finger just blending out any of that concealer that may have already creased on the eyelids before I go in and set them with the powder. To bronze, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finish Powder in shade 3, just to emphasize the bronzing we did earlier with the Chanel product. Sometimes the color seems to be faded by the setting powder we use to set the face, so this bronzer will bring it back to life. With a very soft hand, I'm applying this to the cheekbones, down the neck, and across the forehead. In the past, when I've used this brush, a lot of y'all have been asking me which brush it is, so it is the M500 brush from Morphe. To highlight the skin, I'm using the Beyond Liquid Highlighter from Illamasqua in the shade Daze. With liquid highlighters, I prefer applying them with a beauty blender onto the cheeks. Sometimes with a brush, it can leave behind strokes from the bristles of the brush, but then again, there are times like this when the precision of a brush is needed, like down the center of the nose and the cupid's bow. And to be sure that this highlighter looks like it's a part of the skin, I'm really pressing it in with my ring finger. Moving on to the brows, I'm using the Brow Wiz by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Chocolate to begin filling them in. Slow and steady always wins the race with brows, so I'm just going to take my time here to achieve the look I want. Alright, so now that I'm almost finished up on this brow, I'm going to do the other one off camera to save us a little bit of time. I'll then go back to the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer I used earlier on the face, and I'm going to place that near the nose bridge with an eyeshadow blending brush. For eyeshadow, I'm using the Amrezy palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I'm beginning with that taupey tan brown shade, placing that on the outer corner of the eye and blending it upwards into the crease. This eye look isn't going to require any crazy colors or anything like that. It's pretty easy, so as long as you have a good taupe and brown eyeshadow, you should be good to go. Then I'll bring that same shade down to the bottom lash line and smoke it out. While I do want this eye look to be settled enough to wear during the day, I still want it to have a little drama to it for the evening. So I'm dipping my brush into the deep chocolate brown shade in the palette, and I'm buffing that into the bottom lash line. For the last eyeshadow, named Georgina in the palette, I'm placing this neutral metallic shade right in the center of the top lid. Next, with my Urban Decay Perversion Mascara, I'm going to lightly coat the top and bottom lashes. As you may have noticed by now, Esty has lash extensions, but if you find your lashes are a little sparse, then feel free to add an eyelash strip before applying the mascara. It's times like these that I love a good powder puff because I have the shakiest hands. And listen, all it takes is one gust of wind and it's game over. My hand will be all over the place with this mascara, but that ended up happening anyways, somehow, as you're about to see. So listen to this. I go in to apply the mascara to the bottom lashes, right? And then I decide I want to add a little extra eyeshadow to the top lid. And mind you, the mascara is freshly applied to the bottom lashes. So when she opens her eye back up, the bottom mascara is just everywhere. Oh my gosh. And it was totally my fault. I didn't know what I was thinking, but I'm not gonna lie, I do this to myself all the time, so I'm just gonna show you how I fix it. I take a makeup wipe and I put it on the back of my brush and I start taking off the transferred mascara. I would also use a Q-tip with makeup remover on it, but this is what I had on me at the time. Then with just a little bit of concealer, I'm patching over the area I had taken off the makeup and then setting it again with some of the translucent powder. Lastly, to make sure it's all blended together, I'm just taking a little bit more of that eyeshadow to make sure it's truly seamless. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry you guys for all that, but we got through it and we're back on track. With my Morphe lip liner in shade Sweet Tea, I'm gonna begin lining the lips. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, big surprise, Spencer's doing yet another nude lip. I get it, but in my defense, for a second there, I thought I might be a little adventurous and try out a fun pop of color on the lips today, but listen, after that whole mascara fiasco, that ship sailed and sunk, so I'm playing it safe with this lip color today. With this Urban Decay lipstick in the shade Heartless, I'm filling in the center of the lips, and I'm not going to be too finicky about it being perfectly blended in with the liner because the gloss will pretty much do that for me. The gloss I'll be using is by Buxom in the shade Dolly, and I'm gliding this on both the top and bottom lips. Even though this is only the 10th video I've officially uploaded onto YouTube, if you've been with me since day one, in my very first video, you know my love for this gloss. It's one of my absolute favorites. For the final step, I'm using Huda Beauty's Glow Cocoa Hydrating Mist to set the face. And in case you forgot, that's how we took this natural beauty from this and turned her into a beauty queen.
There we have it, kids. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give this video a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also feel free to drop down any comments down below that you may have. And if it's anything that you take away from today's video, it's this. Always read the fine print on your contact solution. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.